What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of my subscribers for showing love to the channel. First of all, much respect to JMJ Joe Johnson for his contribution to the channel via the PayPal. All right, much respect to him for showing love to this channel. A big supporter of the LDBC, both the Lions Den boxing and basketball communities. You know what I'm saying? Good brother. You know what I'm saying? Love sports. Good all around dude. Much respect for showing love to the channel. And also, shout out to Elijah, once again coming through big on the Cash App $30 donation to the channel. Long time supporter of this channel since about about 6 years now, 5 to 6 years now. He's been a supporter of this channel. 6 years now. He's been a supporter of this channel. Real true blue Golden State Warriors fan. And you know what I'm saying? He also has a lot of good ideas and suggestions when it comes to content. So much respect to him. And anybody who wants to contribute to this channel, if you choose to, and if you're able to, you can do so in the links in the description box via the PayPal or the Cash App. I also want to thank everybody that supports me on the Patreon. I'm gonna do at least one Patreon video today. We'll try to do two. And also, I want to thank everybody that supports me and has subscribed to my music channel. I'll put a link to that either in this video or my next video. Might be my next video. I'll put a link to the music channel in that video. All right. And like I said, on this channel, I take requests as far as music on that channel too. And I do musical biographies on that channel as well. Now, I know I'm late, but time to talk about a little basketball from yesterday, okay? So the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers opened up their series yesterday. Now, Atlanta in the first round dispatched of the New York Knicks, I think it was 4 games to 1, and that was the same spread, I believe, for Philly against a team that, I was rooting for because of Russell Westbrook's presence, the Washington Wizards, but unfortunately, they were eliminated 4 games to 1. Now, the big news from yesterday was that Joel Embiid, who had been questionable with a torn tendon in his knee, I believe it was cleared to play. And I thought to myself, well, the Hawks had a chance if Joel Embiid didn't play. I thought he had a chance. They had a chance, excuse me, if he didn't play. When I saw that he was going to play, I said to myself, well, you know, I don't know now. you know, uh, I don't know. But the Hawks showed absolutely no fear of the Philadelphia 76ers. They came into Philly. Trae Young was on fire in the first half. I think he scored 29 of his 35 points in the first half. And for most of the game, for the most part, Atlanta had control of this game. Um, Now, toward the end, they were able to hold on to a 128-124 victory, but they nearly threw the game away. Um, just, typical lack of experience type shit, uh, not playing a full 48 minutes of basketball, as far as concentrating and putting your all in the game. Sometimes I think when these teams get up big like this and you're not a veteran team, you can sort of mentally relax while the other team is desperation mode, and you're not as in tune to the game as you should be, and that's when teams make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Turn the ball over. Sometimes you get passive in your offense and you're just starting to yak up threes, but they're bad threes. They're not in rhythm and they don't fall. The other team, just seizes opportunities, and what was once I think a 16-point Atlanta Hawk lead dwindled down to something like 3 or 2 at one point, and it looked like they were going to blow the game, but they were able to hang on. Now, Joel Embiid was monstrous. He had 39 points to go along with 9 rebounds, and it wasn't like Atlanta, the like the Atlanta, uh, 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 you know, team didn't play very well. Tobias Harris had 20 points and 10 rebounds. Ben Simmons had 17 points to go along with 10 assists. Seth Curry, who I believe was coming off of a 30-point game, had 21 points. Um, it's just that the Hawks, man, they got some guys, man. Collins, 21 points. Clint Capella, double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds. Trae Young finished with 35 points. Bogdanovich, 21 points. I always struggle how you pronounce his name. I think it's Herter. Herter with 15 points. Gallinari had 9 points. Lou Williams had 8 points, 11 minutes to play. Overall, the Atlanta Hawks shot 51% from the floor. The Sixers 55%. Philly was 10 of 29 from beyond the arc, but the Hawks was 20 of 47 for 43% shooting. Um, Philly went to the line 35 times, but they only shot 69% from the line, whereas Atlanta made 20 out of 21 attempts, 95%. And Philly had 19 turnovers, although Atlanta kind of caught up it toward the end, but that was a big factor in the game. At one point, it was like Atlanta had maybe 11 or 10 turnovers to Philly's 19. Points in the paint overwhelmingly in favor of Atlanta, 58 to 40. Had this been the year 2000, that would have been a big factor in the game, but with the way teams shoot the basketball from outside now, that can be more than made up from threes. Um, Trae Young and the Hawks have no fear of this team. And I'm going to tell you something else, too. And I think this is more true in today's NBA than it's ever been before. Sometimes records, like a team record, may not mean as much as we think it does anymore. And I'll tell you why. I think, well, this is always true. I think in the playoffs, it's more about matchups, which sounds elementary, but it is. I think with today's players and today's NBA, right, a lot of these guys are distracted um, by, let's be honest, these guys make an exorbitant amount of money. Sometimes when they go to certain cities, they're distracted by extracurricular activities. Um, Sometimes these teams are not as amped for certain teams as for others. I think Atlanta will fall into that category perfectly. Atlanta might play Cleveland, might be disinterested and lose. Detroit, they might lose. But then they'll play a team like Philly or the Lakers and either be competitive or may even beat them. Then they might play the Nets and might beat them. And then you're wondering, why didn't we see that team against those Cellar Dweller teams? Where in the past, maybe I'm being biased, but in the past, these guys, I think, oh boy, I might get in trouble for saying this, man. People may not like me saying this, but in the past, teams were more consistent, in my opinion, because players were more focused on basketball during the regular season, and they played harder, and they were more concerned about seeding. Whereas in today's NBA, I think these guys aren't as concerned about where they finish as before. Case in point, the Clippers. Now the Lakers, that couldn't be helped because of injuries. The Clippers could have finished in the second seed. They chose to sacrifice that and finish as low as the fourth seed. So That's one theory of mine. Um, I don't think Atlanta is in control of this series. But I do think that if Philly loses game two, you have to really wonder about Doc Rivers as a coach. And it's funny because I just gave this nigga a pass because of the Clippers this year and how don't they're still making a lot of mistakes, and they had to go 7 games against the Mavericks, a team they should have beaten in 4 or 5, right? So I said, well, maybe it isn't just Doc Rivers' the problem. It's the team, it's the culture there. It's not just on Doc Rivers. Paul George, who he likely, well, we know Doc Rivers and Paul George didn't like each other. A lot of it was other stuff. But if this Sixer team were to lose to this Atlanta Hawks team, that would be another bad that would be another negative section or another bad stain on Doc Rivers' resume, his legacy as a coach. I think that the Sixers are going to win. I think they'll make adjustments, but we'll have to see. Having a guy like Ben Simmons on your team who can't shoot and who's very inconsistent from the foul line, it's a really bad sword of Damocles hanging over their heads. And you hope that motherfucker doesn't drop. You know what I'm saying? It's it's bad. It's a bad thing to have in today's NBA. You know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 40 years ago, people really wasn't shooting a three. A guy like Ben Simmons wouldn't have hurt you as much. But in today's league where teams are shooting 35 threes a game on average, you can't have a guy who just refuses to shoot. Russell Westbrook, Draymond Green, uh, who else? You know, trying to think of someone else who doesn't shoot it very well. But those two in particular, okay? They may not shoot it well, but they will at least shoot it, and they could make 2 or 3 in a row. And at least on nights where they're hitting it, they can put pressure on defense to at least cover them. At least, and that can open things up for other guys. When you got a guy that refuses to shoot the ball from outside like Ben Simmons for the most part, it's a terrible detriment to have on the team. And but we'll see because the Atlanta Hawks are a little streaky at times. Trae Young, he's had a tremendous postseason so far. But I think he's due for one of those 9 for 2023 performances soon. So, but we'll see though. Tell me what you guys think about this series and what you think about, what do you predict for the series? For once, I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I do think that game two is important. I think that if Philly loses game two, it's going to be mighty hard for them to come back. I'm not going to say it'll be impossible because we're talking about the Hawks. Okay, we're not talking about the Nets or the Bucks or an experienced playoff team. However, if they lose the first 2 games, I think it will be difficult. That the Sixers to me, this isn't a series like the Mavs and the Clippers. It's just not. Um, Atlanta's not going to lose all their games at home. So I think it is very important for the Clippers, for the Hawks. I'm all over the place. It's very important for the Sixers to win game two. But tell me what you guys think.